here, and welcome to our event, PPC Basics for Industrial Companies. We'll be covering everything you need to know about getting started with PPC, which can sometimes be a little bit confusing. So today we've got three of Top Floor's best PPC experts who will be kind of leading the way through what we hope should be a super engaging and exciting conversation about all things paid search. So first we have Andrea, she's our PPC team lead, Emily, our PPC specialist, and Paige, our search marketing specialist. And just a note, everybody always asks that this webinar will be recorded, and you will be getting an email as a follow-up with the presentation, plus any of the resources that we might talk about when we're going through things today. So let's kick things off. As we work our way through, please feel free to ask questions, make comments, give any of your own examples into the chat box. And in fact, if anyone can just pull up the chat box right now and let us know where you're tuning in from. So I'll start. I'm out in Economwalk, and my next door neighbor, they're having their roof done today. Brand new roof. We had that big hailstorm. So so I apologize in advance if you hear any hammering. So anybody else here? Would love to see where you're tuning in from today. And so with that, I think let's just dive right in.
Okay. Oh, Martha, I got a message saying chat is disabled. Oh, how about that? Did that work, Emily? Yay! All right, there we go. Thanks for the heads up.
Okay, so now everyone let us know where you're doing.
There we go. Yeah.
Apologies. It's the hammering. It's getting to me.
Okay, well, through today's discussion, we're going to be discussing 4 key takeaways. First is, what is PPC? We'll talk you through all of our basics, all high-level explanation of what PPC is and why it's important, as well as how it can improve your visibility online. The second point is what goes into a PPC campaign, so PPC inputs, as well as setup and all the research and all of the aspects that go into a good PPC campaign and how you can use assets that you already have. The third topic is going to be how to properly measure your campaigns to see if they're successful or not. And then learning from the measurements, the fourth topic is going to be optimizations. So how you can use what you learned to help improve your campaigns to perform the best that they can be.
All right. So first, what is PPC? So PPC is pay per click advertising is, in the simplest definition, is advertising where ad spend is charged when the ad is clicked on. The most popular types of PPC advertising is paid search, display ads, social ads, and even YouTube ads. For the purpose of this presentation, we're really going to be talking about paid search because I feel like those topics will cover a large amount of paid search, and then those same points can be basically taken and applied to display, social, and YouTube. So just keep that in mind as we're going through all this.
All right, so I think we're going to start off with a poll. So I don't know if any of you are going to talk about this or if I'm taking it, but I'll just go for it. So question to the group, what types of PPC is your company currently running? I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll. And I'll give you a couple seconds to let us know. I'm always so awkward during this part. I feel like we need like the Jeopardy.
Well, I love watching the changes in all of the answers as time goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
see, it just keeps fluctuating.
I know. All right, I'll go ahead and end the poll. So sharing results.
Nice.
So it looks like we have some paid search, display, social, and YouTube, and a couple with nothing right now.
Okay, I was expecting more nothing, so that's That's surprising. Okay. Paige, you want to talk about why PPC?
Yeah. So starting out again, we want to talk about why a PPC campaign can be beneficial to your marketing strategy and drive more traffic to your website. I saw a lot of you already have some paid advertising going on already, but here are some of the reasons why PPC also is just like a really good strategy to have in your pocket. Paid advertising is really at the forefront of the search result page. For example, in this image, we see that ads are the top 4 search results when we search for conveyor belt manufacturers. So it's taking up a lot of space right away in that search just space. So that's already in the forefront of people that are already searching. So they're more likely to see all of those and click on those. On the right side, we see the products as well, and those are all shopping ads too. So people are paying for those high spots for this keyword. So the paid space on the search result page is very valuable because it does take up that first part of that page. The second thing we like to talk about is ROI reporting, because PPC is really unique in that once you start a campaign and you have those ads created and it's implemented, those ads do start serving to the public pretty quickly. So we are able to analyze that data almost on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So if you are looking to see how many clicks you're getting, what the cost of those clicks are, how many leads you're gaining from those ads as you're going through this campaign, you're able to do that on a pretty standard basis where you can check in almost every day to see how it's performing. So PPC is a really great option when you're looking to get quick results or ROI data to your marketing director, your marketing managers, to just report on how this is going and how it's doing. But it's also a great way to see if you need to shift your strategy as well. If you're not getting the results you want right away, it's definitely a great way to just change it up as well. So that's another key point that's different about PPC. Lastly, I have just like a link to a top 4 case study for one of our clients that does PPC with us. And it's a really great real world example about PPC strategy and how it has benefited them. So that's just linked right there in the webinar. And I think Martha mentioned that you'll all get a copy of this webinar at the end of this and some resources as well. So that'll be linked for you guys just for an example.
And would you say that somebody needs to work on PPC or do PPC if they're already working on like their organic search strategy? What's the benefit for them?
Yeah, so if you're already doing an SEO strategy, PPC can be a great complement to that because PPC, like I said, is a pretty quick turnaround in terms of getting your ads out there and people seeing those ads, where SEO is really awesome as well, but it does take a little bit longer for Google to read that content, rank those keywords, things like that. Where PPC, you're already targeting a specific audience and it's already serving, and you do get that data right away. Yeah. Where SEO, sometimes you get to wait a little bit longer for that.
Yeah, I would think like for especially like a really good example would be like a brand new product. You're going to come out with that, and then right out the gate, you have your ads showing in front of people who are looking for that type of product. Like that's instant.
Instant, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, the next stage is the research stage. So it's really starting off in building your campaigns. A good way to go about this is looking at your priority products and services and figuring out maybe the top 3 or 5 products or services that you really want to advertise for, because you don't want to do everything. That would get overwhelming pretty quickly. So focus on, like Andrea had mentioned, new products and services that you want to get out there, or maybe a channel that's struggling a little bit that you want to drive more sales to. Really honing in on specific products and services is going to help with your research and ad copywriting and all of that stuff. It's really going to funnel down into how well your campaign performs, because you can focus more on specific campaigns rather than getting bogged down by a bunch of campaigns that don't really matter yet in the long run, I guess you could say. I think especially if you're just starting out, like you don't have to be everything to everyone especially for all your products. Like
start out slow.
Yep.
Get your feet wet, understand what you're doing, expand it. Yeah, for sure. I think that's a good strategy.
The next step in the research phase is looking into how much you want to spend for your campaigns. This is heavily going to come from your keyword research stage, looking at how much keywords cost, looking at cost per clicks, everything like that. But then another good way to gauge how much you want to spend is reverse engineering ROI. If you already have a rough idea of how much a lead costs, you can multiply that cost versus how many leads you'd like to see per month. And that's a really good starting point to get your campaigns up and running. And once they've been going for a while, you can adjust spend up or down depending on the volume of leads that you're seeing.
Yeah, and you can also adjust your optimizations in the account. So if you're not hitting that cost per lead that you see from other channels, obviously you need some work, right? So
for sure. The last step of this is just gathering all of the resources that you can for your accounts. For any products and services that you want to be advertising for, you want to make sure you have a strong landing page that relates to those products and services to send those ads to. And on those pages, you want to make sure that you have clear conversion points, whether that's a form fill or a request a quote or an email link, making sure that you have a clear spot where users can go to contact you and have measurable information that your sales team can follow up on later. Another good thing to include in your research process is gathering any customer resources, whether it's sell sheets, any articles or blogs that you have relating to the product, any information sheets. These are really good to use as calls to action, as well as offering your customers additional resources and information on the product so that they can make an informed decision when converting on your site.
Yep. So white papers, case studies, things that they're going to use in their research of your product are really good, especially if you have them gated already. You're going to get their information, you'll be able to follow up on them, and then bring that full circle. I think making sure that you have like a landing page that's really good for PPC and really good for conversion goes back to also starting with your priority products and services. You don't have to change your entire site to run paid search. Maybe start with that one product and then make sure that landing page for that product has a really clear call to action, and just see how that works for you.
Definitely.
Cool. And then next to go with research actually is your keywords. So we typically start with the Google Keyword Planner. It's free to use. But basically it tells us average monthly searches. It'll tell us if the competition is high, medium, low. It'll also give us an estimate on cost per click for each keyword. So if there might be one that we just don't have the budget to go after. But don't be too general. Otherwise you'll have a ton of volume and not very quality traffic coming to your site. So in the example here, you'll see a brush has 33,000 monthly searches. But if I'm selling conveyor cylinder brushes, I probably don't want that 33,000 traffic. I want the 10 that are super quality. That's what they're looking for. I have that product. They're going to convert on my site. On the other hand, you don't want to be too specific because then you'll get no traffic. So if I were to add on to conveyor cylinder brush, like conveyor cylinder brush for food manufacturers, make it too long, too specific, I'm going to get nothing. So finding that sweet spot and then playing with that will get you the right traffic. Avoid also internal company jargon. What you call it internally may not be what the end consumer calls it, or who you're supplying to calls it. So look for synonyms of the terms that you're using so that you can make sure that you're being found no matter what they search. And then consider all buying stages. So this actually goes back to Emily's point too about gathering your resources. So there's definitely going to be different searches performed at the different stages of your customer's buying journey. People who are researching the issue are maybe looking for a white paper, not necessarily ready to quote, right? And then somebody looking for price comparisons, you can offer them the quote. So think about that buying journey, what they would be searching, what you want to offer them, what kind of landing page you want them to come to, and then cater your keywords and your ad groups to all of that. So.
Would you consider writing different calls to actions for different stages of the buying process?
Absolutely, yeah. So kind of what I touched on already, but if somebody is researching the issue, then your call to action is probably be like, we have a solution for you, and it's in the form of this product. Download our white paper. If somebody's like researching the actual product, so like conveyor cylinder brush, they know they want a conveyor cylinder brush. You don't have to sell them a white paper, or, you know, maybe a case study would be helpful, but a white paper probably wouldn't be. You could give them a spec sheet, or you could give them a request for quote as your call to action. And then that call to action and the ad should really match your landing page too. So consider that.
All right, yeah, so as well as keywords, targets and bidding is really important to look at when you're starting to look at setting up a PPC campaign. First thing I want to talk about are the locations. So Emily touched on it earlier. You may want to prioritize just one location if you have one main location that you want to really show ads in that area, but you also can add multiple locations if you do have locations across the state, across the nation, things like that, and expand those campaigns in the future. But it might be advantageous to kind of start where you really want to see those goals improve. The second thing is just looking at our audiences. So Google Ads actually has a lot of predefined audiences to choose from that you're able to implement right away that are pretty, there's a lot of them, I should say, that you can choose from. Google is adding a bunch all the time. So it's a good thing to like look at, even if you already started one, to keep looking at those audiences to see if they are getting more specific or even more closely relevant to you.
I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize is that Google has categorized each and every one of us. They have an audience that we have fit into. So if you're a dog lover, they know that. If you know, if you're looking for a new checking account, they know that. So using those audiences and the Google data while you can is really creepy, but useful for marketing.
You said that's something that's constantly changing. Does that mean, like, as a user, my category of what audience I would fit into is always evolving as well? And I think that helps in, you know, in that buyer's journey and that buyer's funnel too. If their audience is constantly changing for each user.
Yes, exactly. So that in-market audience, that's all categories of people currently researching. So like within, I don't know how many months, but if I had to say, like within the last 3 months, they've been researching this type of product or service, that you are categorized in those in-market audiences. So that's constantly changing. They're constantly rotating that audience pool, basically.
Yeah, that's a great question. Because yeah, audiences can be as much as you want, as little as you want, but yeah, they're always following you, keeping track. Love that. Remarketing is the next point. So this is another strategy that is definitely useful in PPC because you can see who already kind of knows you, who has been to your website, and really target those people that already know who you are, but may not have made a decision, a purchase on that first visit. So it really is really good for your brand recall, especially for manufacturing, B2B companies, industrial, those kind of industries, because they do sometimes have longer buying cycles. So staying in front of those people that already know you and just staying on top of their mind is really important in terms of getting that final sale. The last part I have here is talking about Google AI. So we kind of talked about how Google kind of knows all, is very on top of everything, but Google also has a way of really optimizing our campaigns and really making sure that we're reaching the correct audiences. So one of the first things I want to talk about is the bid strategies. So these bid strategies kind of limit the people we show to, but in a good way, because we don't want to show to all audiences because it can be very costly. It can get us customers that don't necessarily match what we're looking for. So those really do limit the people that are seeing your ads and are optimized for people that are more likely to convert or more likely to click through to our website. So that's something that Google does a really good job of. And then conversion goals as well is something that Google will optimize for in terms of the goals that you are setting for those campaigns. So what we are tracking as conversion goals is really important to the account. So if we really want form fills such as contact us, request a quote, we really want to make sure those are the only conversions we're tracking, because they will optimize who we're kind of showing for those specific conversions, and hopefully get to people that are more likely to actually go to the website and make that conversion.
Yeah, Google's AI is only as smart as the inputs it's given, right? So make sure that the conversions that you're tracking within the system are conversions you really want. If you're doing like people that visited a landing page, is that really a conversion? Did you get any information from them? Can your sales team follow up with them? Probably not. So just thinking about that.
All right, the next step in the PPC process is measuring how your campaigns do. Overall, we like to look at impressions, which is how many people view your ads when you're in the search results or in images or whatever. The next one is clicks, which is how many people clicked the ad and landed on your website from the ads, as well as click-through rate and conversions. We can also take a look at how well each ad performs based on a few factors such as quality score, which is essentially how well your landing page relates to your ads that relates to your keywords. And then as well as ad strength. So Google determines whether ads are average, great, different levels of ad strength, and then we can look at that and make improvements to specific ads based on the recommendations that Google gives us. We can improve keywords, we can change ad copy and headlines and help improve those once we start learning how well they perform. We also measure conversions, and like Paige had mentioned, you only want to track conversions that will get you information on a client. So like we work with a lot of manufacturers and they heavily rely on form fills. And those are forms that their sales team can follow up on and actually get information to reach out to someone if they're not as far along in the buying journey as Google thinks and serves their ads. So we can really follow up on those leads. We also like to track calls, which is someone who presses the ad and calls for longer than 30 seconds, because that's another good way to get information. If they talk to someone or leave a voicemail, more times than not, they'll leave follow-up information that you can follow up on and hopefully convert into a sale.
Yep. So for Top Floor, what we provide to our clients, we obviously track all of these measurements and then some, but we also like to provide insights to all this. So we will actually basically translate all the metrics. So you can see metrics up or down or whatever, but like, tell me what it means, right? So with every monthly report, we basically add on a paragraph, sometimes a 2-paragraph, depending on what that actually means. So look at this metric. It means that we're doing really well on this. Hey, this needs a little bit of attention. Here's what we're going to do about it. Things like that. So yeah, we do provide all the metrics, but then it's that extra insights that really provide, I feel like, our clients that extra step of reassurance.
We make it really easy to digest all of the information that's being thrown at you. We also put together a nice data studio report, which encapsulates everything with nice charts and then the write-up to complement that.
And those are also really good reports to pass on to your C-suite. Optimization. So those metrics will tell you what optimizations you are going to need to do. So if your click-through rate is down, well, are you targeting the right keywords? Does your ad text need to be refined? If your conversion rate is down, what's your landing page doing? Things like that. But basically there's everything can be optimized within the account. There's your keywords. Again, you can target different keywords. You can make them a different match type. You can add negatives, all that kind of stuff. You can change your call to actions in your ads. Maybe they're just not aggressive enough, honestly. And then your landing pages. Are they getting to your landing pages and then falling off? Or are they getting your landing pages and then going to 10 other pages because they don't see what they need? All that kind of stuff can be optimized within the account. And then experiments. So Google has its own tool where you can run experiments, 50-50 split on anything that you want to test. You want to test 2 different call to actions. You can test that against each other and it will spit out the results after 30 days, let's say. If you everything that can be tested basically that you can modify in Google. And we do try to use that for basically everything. Also look for seasonality. So a lot of time, what we found is one of our clients, let's say, was conversions were kind of dropping off in November, December timeframe. And what we found was that people were still researching. So we were still getting that traffic, that paid traffic to the site, but nobody was making the conversion. They weren't making the purchase until that January came around because that was the beginning of their fiscal year. So they had brand new budgets to work with. So it was still important that we were advertising in November, December, but those conversions weren't going to come till January. So we plan for that. We plan accordingly. We offer more things like, again, case studies, things that'll make them go with this brand over another, things like that. So it's all part of that checking, plan, do, check, and act, and then continuous optimizations.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How often would you recommend going in and refining your ads and the metrics? I know you mentioned like a 30 days kind of test period for A/B testing. And is that kind of the norm, or what would you say?
Yeah, I wouldn't say you have to necessarily like change your ads all the time, but for sure, like test different call to actions against each other and see if there's something that might work better for the people that are searching those terms. Because again, that buying cycle is really important too. Like what keyword did they put in and what are you offering in the ad text? That might change. What if you didn't have white papers before? Now you have white papers, you can offer them. What if you didn't have a way to request a quote? Now you do. It's all kind of, there's no real good, it's not like every 30 days you should have a new ad. I wouldn't go that far. I would just say you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not looking at it at least once a quarter, like
Gotcha.
refreshing those ads.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so we had an activity and then a poll, a follow-up poll. Go to Google right now and Google your primary product or service. It doesn't have to be everything, just Google your primary product and service, pick one of them. And then who is in those paid results? Who's in those top 2 or 3, however paid results you get? And the options are my business, a competitor's, someone I've never heard of, or no ads appeared. Sometimes no ads would appear, but I've only really ever seen that if somebody types in an actual business name. So I'll be curious to see if anybody gets that as well.
I've got a couple. Again, we need the music.
Do, 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 do.
All right, I think we're good. I will end the poll and share the results.
Okay.
So it looks like, yeah.
My business that's a good amount. Good. Someone I've never heard of. Okay. Yeah, that happens. I can't tell you how many times we have a client come on board who hasn't been doing paid search, and then they'll give us a list of competitors, and that list could be 10 long, and none of them are using paid search, which is an opportunity. But also, if there's new competitors in there, those are your competitors now. So just something to think about. Speaking of competitors.
Yeah. So as you can see, that kind of led right into our next slide here. So I know you guys all, a lot of you saw your own business there already, or a competitor that you already know of, but some, like Andrew said, sometimes there are competitors that you're never really heard of before, or maybe have not been a main competitor just on your internal side of things. So it's definitely important to look for who is competing against you in that space. Here are a few ways to kind of figure out those competitors. If you don't have like a paid campaign or a Google Ads account already, you can definitely do what we just did. Just simply Google search your primary products, your services, see who's really there, and see if they are competitors you know of, that you really are like, oh, maybe I should be up there with them, things like that. But if you do have a Google Ads campaign already, there is a Auction Insights report that actually lists out some of the competitors that are you're seeing against your ads. So in this screenshot below, this is the Auction Insights report. So on the left side, it'll be a list of your competitors, but also you and kind of where you stand competitively against them. So that's a really cool report just to see the impression share. So how much you're showing up for that, how much your ads are showing up versus how often your competitors are showing up. So that can be really informative in terms of who are the ones that are really showing up the most and how you can really better your own ads. There's also paid tools to find out who your competitors are as well, and that can actually dive a little bit deeper into how those competitors are using their campaigns in terms of keywords and things like that. So that's definitely an option as well. But this Auction Insights report gives you a lot of information as well as to how you're ranking against your competitors.
So if somebody's looking at this Auction Insights report, how do they know what to work on to improve their impression share?
Yeah, so that's actually a really great part of Google Ads. Google Ads will actually tell you how to improve your impression share and why you're losing out on some of that against your competitors. So there are a few ways, including search impression share loss due to budget or due to ad rank. So it'll tell you maybe they're just spending more money, and that's just something that you have to combat in terms of how much they're spending. But there's also ad rank as well that you could be losing out an impression share on, just looking at the quality of the ads, how those keywords are really working with the ad copy that you're using, things like that. So Google actually lets you know what you can really work on to compete better with the competitors you want to, for sure.
I would always trust the Auction Insights over those paid tools like SEMrush and SpyFu. That's a personal preference, obviously. SEMrush and SpyFu, if you don't know already, the way that they gather their information is actually by scraping search results. So they actually have like their bots basically going through and scraping search results for different key terms and looking at the competitors and things like that. They don't have a connection at Google that's giving them the information. Only Google knows who is doing that. So just a little opinion on that one. All right. So that is really everything that we wanted to get through. But again, here's our 4 key takeaways. So what is PPC? Improve your visibility and gain another spot on those search results. So even if you're doing well organically, take up another spot in the search results by doing paid as well. The PPC inputs. So start slow, use the resources you already have. And then measurement, report success to your C-suite through direct ROI reporting. It's really one of the only marketing efforts that you can actually say, we put this money in, we got exactly this out, because you can't get that with print. There's ways around things, but this is the way that you can actually get that ROI reporting honed in. And then optimizations, keep working on your campaigns to make them the best that they can be, because you can't just set it and forget it with paid search.
All right. Thanks, everyone. That was a great overview. I learned a lot.
And I have so much more to say too. So I hope we do another one.
Yeah.
Yes, we are looking. So, we started with the basics for this webinar for people who are really just trying to get started or to learn more information about it. But we're hoping that we can do kind of more of a 201 level PPC webinar. So if you have questions, specific or broad, let us know. We can answer them here, or it helps fuel the topics for future webinars too.
For sure.
Yeah. So now's the time. If anyone has any questions, chat them in. Otherwise, you can get in touch with us after the fact. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I will be sending out an email with the presentation, and I can put you in touch with any of the speakers as well. So, all right. Nothing? Okay, well, thanks to Andrea, Paige, and Emily. We really appreciate your insights and all the hard work you put into this. So great job. And thanks everyone for attending.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.